Welcome to the overview video for UFC 321 Aspinal vs Gane, where we will go over all the picks and method of victory predictions that have been made for every fight on this card by the UFC Prediction Channels on YouTube. On this card will be a total of 14 fights, with some very big favorites and odds, but also some very close fights. So let's get started with the first fight of the night, or first fight of the morning for most viewers. For the first fight of the night, we go to the women's strawweight division for a fight between Jaqueline Amorim and Mizuki. Jaqueline is on a 4-fight winning streak and Mizuki has 3 fights in the UFC. The last one was in 2023, but before in 2020, and the first fight was in 2019, 6 years ago. So not a very active fighter. Jaqueline Amorim is the huge favorite with minus 440 in average odds, and Mizuki the underdog with plus 310. And Mizuki is also a huge favorite in picks by the YouTube Prediction Channels. 79 out of 82 channels predict she will win this fight for 96%. The best predictors, the channels that are highlighted in green, who have the highest return on investment with all of their picks in 2025, all of them pick Jaqueline Amorim to win for 8 out of 8. The best favorite predictors, who have the highest return on investment with their picks on favorite fighters in odds only and have a little star in front of the name, they pick the favorite fighter in odds, Jaqueline Amorim, 6 out of 7. And the best underdog predictors, the channels with the highest return on investment with their picks on underdogs only, none of them have picked the underdog Mizuki, so they have no faith in this underdog. So Jaqueline Amorim is the clear favorite in this fight in picks and in odds. But by which method of victory are the YouTube prediction channels expecting her to win? One channel has predicted that she will win by a KO or TKO, but most channels have predicted that she will win via submission win, which is also how she won her last 3 fights. And this is picked by 38 out of 53 channels for 72%. And 13 channels, around 25%, pick Jaqueline Amorim to win via decision. And one channel has picked Mizuki to win via decision. And the best method of victory predictors, the channels with the highest return on investment with their method of victory predictions, most of them also think she will win via submission, which is picked by 6 out of 7. The next fight on the card is between Azat Maksum and Mitch Raposo in the flyweight division. Maksum lost his last 2 fights in the UFC and Mitch Raposo lost all 3 of them. Although both of them don't have a great record, Azat Maksum is the big favorite in this matchup with minus 410. And Mitch Raposo the underdog with plus 315. And almost all of the YouTube prediction channels agree with the odds makers, because Azat Maksum is a huge favorite with 78 out of 81 channels picking him to win for 96%. And all of the best predictors, the best favorite and underdog predictors, pick Azat Maksum to win with 7 out of 7, 7 out of 7 and 8 out of 8. For method of victory predictions, we have 2 channels predicting a KO TKO win for Azat Maksum. 6 channels have predicted a submission win for Azat Maksum, but most of the channels are predicting that he will win via decision, which is picked by 49 out of 57 channels for 86%. And all of the best method of victory predictors all pick him to win via decision as well. And with odds of plus 100, the odds makers also think that this is the most likely outcome for this fight. For the next fight, we go to the heavyweight division for a fight between Hamdy Abdelwahab and Chris Barnett. Hamdy Abdelwahab has 3 fights in the UFC with mixed results, and Chris Barnett also has mixed results over his last 5 fights in the UFC. And in this matchup, we again have another huge favorite in Hamdy Abdelwahab with minus 425, and with plus 325, Chris Barnett is the underdog. In the previous 2 matchups, the big favorites were also huge favorite in picks by the YouTube prediction channels. But in this one, the big favorite Hamdy Abdelwahab is not such a big favorite in picks by the YouTube prediction channels. And he is picked by 60 out of 82 channels for 73%. And the best predictors, amazingly enough, have Chris Barnett as the favorite in picks. Although a slight one, and there's still more picks to come from the best predictors. But for now, he's the favorite with 4 out of 7. And the best favorite predictors pick the favorite Hamdy Abdelwahab only 2 out of 7. So they have no faith in the favorite fighter in odds, and most of them go with the underdog Chris Barnett 5 out of 7. What about the best underdog predictors? Do they like this underdog? Well, he's not the favorite in picks, but some of them like this underdog Chris Barnett, and he's picked 3 out of 8 by the best underdog predictors. So the odds makers and the YouTube prediction channels overall agree, but in picks by the best predictors, this fight is kind of 50-50, with a slight lean towards Chris Barnett. But over the next 2 days, more predictions are coming in, including from the best predictors and the best favorite and underdog predictors. And then for the method of victory predictions, for a KO TKO win we have 9 channels for Hamdy Abdelwahab and 15 for Chris Barnett. 0 channels predict a submission win in this fight, and for a decision win we have 26 out of 52 channels predicting Hamdy Abdelwahab to win for 50% and 2 for Chris Barnett. But the best method of victory predictors disagree, and 4 out of 7 go with a KO TKO win for Chris Barnett. And what I also find interesting is that the odds makers disagree with the prediction channels. They think the most likely outcome is a KO TKO win for Hamdy Abdelwahab with plus 110, which is picked by 9 channels, and after that a decision win with odds of plus 185, which is picked by 26 channels or 50%. Up next we go to the featherweight division for a fight between Nathaniel Wood, who won 4 out of his last 5 fights, and Jose Delgado, who won his first 3 fights in the UFC. Delgado is also much taller than Nathaniel Wood and has a big reach advantage. With minus 115 average odds, Jose Delgado is the slight favorite and Nathaniel Wood the underdog with plus 125. Although Delgado is not such a big favorite in odds, he is a pretty big favorite in picks by the YouTube prediction channels. 61 out of 83 channels predict he will win for 73.5%. But he's not such a big favorite in picks by the best predictors, with 4 making him a slight favorite. And the same with the best favorite predictors, he's also picked 4 out of 7. And the underdog, Nathaniel Wood, is picked by the best underdog predictors 4 out of 8 for 50%. And then for method of victory predictions, we have 1 channel predicting a KO TKO win for Nathaniel Wood, while most channels are predicting Jose Delgado to win via KO TKO win, which is picked by 31 out of 52 channels for 60%. 1 channel predicts a submission win for Jose Delgado, and for a decision win we have 14 channels for Nathaniel Wood and 5 for Delgado. Up next we have another fight in the heavyweight division between Valter, who won his last 3 fights all via a heel hook submission, and Louie Sutherland, who's making his UFC debut. And here again we have another big favorite on this card in Valter with minus 370, and the underdog is Louie Sutherland with odds of plus 290. And in picks by the YouTube prediction channels, 0 channels picked Louie Sutherland to win. And all 82 channels that made a prediction for this fight go with Valter for 100%. Which also means that he's picked 100% by the best predictors and the best favorite and underdog predictors. So the only question that remains is by which method of victory are they predicting he will win. 1 channel predicted a KO TKO win for Valter, but almost all channels predict that he will win via submission win, which is predicted by 55 out of 57 channels for 96.5%. And to be more specific, most have predicted he will win again via a heel hook submission. And a decision win is predicted by 1 channel. And also the best method of victory predictors, all of them predict a submission win for Valter. And also the odds makers agree, because they have Valter winning via submission with odds of plus 135 as the most likely outcome. The next fight is in the lightweight division between Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady and Matheus Camilo. Al-Selwady has 1 win and 1 loss in his first 2 UFC fights, and Camilo lost his first UFC fight. And this fight is basically even in odds. It's minus 112 in average odds for Matheus Camilo and minus 109 for Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady. Although this fight is even in odds, it's not even in picks by the YouTube prediction channels. And Al-Selwady is the favorite with 51 out of 81 channels predicting he will win for 63%. And he's also the favorite in picks by the best predictors with 5 out of 8. And he's also the favorite in picks by the best favorite predictors with 5 out of 7 and the best underdog predictors with 5 out of 9. But because this fight is so even in odds, we can kind of ignore the best favorite and underdog predictors. And then for method of victory predictions, we have 2 channels predicting a KO TKO win for Al-Selwady and 12 for Matheus Camilo. Both fighters are picked each by 1 channel to win via submission, but most channels, 30 out of 53 for 57%, predict a decision win for Al-Selwady and 7 for Camilo. But when we look at the best method of victory predictors, most of them go with Matheus Camilo. But they're all divided about the method of victory predictions, 2 for a KO TKO, 1 for a submission and 2 for a decision. And when we look at the odds, we also see something interesting. The odds makers think the most likely outcome for this fight is a KO TKO win for Matheus Camilo with odds of plus 200. But that's only picked by 22% for all the channels. But after that we have a decision win for Al-Selwady with plus 225 as the second most likely outcome, according to the odds makers, which is picked by 57% for all the channels. Up next we have another fight in the lightweight division between Ludovit Klein, who won 4 out of his last 5 fights, and Matheus who has won 3 out of his last 5 fights. And in average odds, this fight is pretty close. Ludovit Klein is the slight favorite with minus 145 and with plus 120 Matheus the underdog. Although Ludovit Klein is not such a big favorite, most of the channels, more than 2/3, go with him to win 57 out of 83 for 69%. And he's even a bigger favorite in picks by the best predictors with 6 out of 8 for 75%. And the best favorite predictors have the favorite Ludovit Klein winning 5 out of 7. And the underdog Matheus is picked by the best underdog predictors 3 out of 9. For method of victory predictions, we have 9 channels predicting a KO TKO win for Ludovit Klein. 0 channels predict a submission win in this fight, and for a decision win, we have most channels going with Ludovit Klein with 27 out of 47 for 57% and 11 for Matheus But the best method of victory predictors, most of them 4 out of 7 predict a decision win for Matheus The next fight is in the middleweight division between Ikram Aliskerov and Jung Park, and both of them have won 4 out of their last 5 fights. With average odds of minus 245, Ikram Aliskerov is the favorite and Jung Park the underdog with plus 195. In picks by the YouTube prediction channels, Ikram Aliskerov is a pretty big favorite with 74 out of 84, picking him to win for 88%. And he's also the big favorite in picks by the best predictors with 7 out of 8 for 87.5%. And the same with the best favorite predictors with 6 out of 7. And the underdog Jung Park is picked by the best underdog predictors 3 out of 9. So some of them have faith in this underdog. For method of victory predictions, most channels are predicting that this fight will be won by Ikram Aliskerov via KO or TKO, which is picked by 37 out of 51 channels for 72.5%. And one channel predicts a KO TKO win for Jung Park. Only one channel predicts a submission win for Ikram Aliskerov, and the rest of the channels predict that this fight will go to the scorecards, with 8 channels predicting a decision win for Aliskerov and 4 for Park. And the best MOV predictors also see Ikram Aliskerov winning via KO TKO 5 out of 7. The future prelim fight is between Nasrat Haqparast and Klein in the lightweight division. Haqparast won his last 5 fights in the UFC and Klein is on a 3-fight winning streak. And in odds, this is a pick'em fight. And both fighters have basically minus 110 in odds. Although the fight is even in odds, it's not even in picks, because Nasrat Haqparast is the clear favorite with 55 out of 85 channels picking him to win for 65%. And also most of the best predictors, 6 out of 8, favor him to win for 75%. And he's even a bigger favorite in picks by the best favorite predictors with 6 out of 7. And the best underdog predictors go with him 5 out of 9. But as always, when the odds are this close, we can kind of ignore the best favorite and underdog predictors, because there isn't really a favorite or underdog at this moment. So yeah, interesting to see that this fight is a lot closer in odds than in picks by the YouTube prediction channels. And then for the method of victory predictions, we have only one channel predicting a KO TKO win for Nasrat Haqparast and 4 for Klein. 0 channels predict a submission win in this fight, but most channels predict that this fight will go to the scorecards. And most channels, 36 out of 50 for 72%, predict Haqparast to win a decision, and Kult for Salkult. And the best MOV predictors are a bit divided, but most of them, they also go with a decision win for Nasrat Haqparast 3 out of 7. And also the odds makers think that a decision win is the most likely outcome in this fight. But in odds it's very close with plus 180 for Haqparast and plus 200 for Salkult. But as we saw, in picks it's not close, because 72% predict a decision win for Haqparast and only 18% for Salkult. Opening up the main card, we have a fight in the light heavyweight division between Alexander Rakic and Azamat Murzakanov. Alexander Rakic hasn't been doing so well and lost his last 3 fights, and Azamat Murzakanov is on a 5-fight winning streak. And here we have another fight that in odds is basically even. In average odds is minus 113 for Murzakanov and minus 108 for Rakic. Although in odds there isn't a favorite, in picks by the YouTube prediction channels there is a favorite, which is Azamat Murzakanov, because he is picked by 53 out of 87 channels for 61%. In picks by the best predictors it's even, just like the odds, because both fighters are picked by 4 out of 8 for 50%. The best favorite predictors have Murzakanov as the favorite with 5 out of 7, but the best underdog predictors go with Alexander Rakic 6 out of 9. But yeah, this fight is basically even, so we can kind of ignore the best favorite and underdog predictors. What about the method of victory? Well, for a KO TKO win, we have 8 channels going with Rakic, but most channels, 28 out of 58, go with Nurmagomedov for 48%. 0 channels predict a submission win in this fight, and for a decision win, we have 14 channels for Rakic and 8 for Nurmagomedov. And most of the best MOV predictors, 5 out of 7 for 71%, predict a KO TKO win for Nurmagomedov. Up next, we have another heavyweight fight, the third one of this night, between Alexander Volkov and Jaqueline Almeida. And both of them lost only 1 out of their last 5 fights. Well, officially, because a lot of people think Alexander Volkov got robbed in his last fight against Gane. Anyway, in odds, the favorite is Jaqueline Almeida with average odds of minus 205. And Alexander Volkov is the underdog with plus 165. In picks by the YouTube prediction channels, Jaqueline Almeida is also the favorite with 52 out of 87 for 60%. And in picks by the best predictors, it's pretty close, but Jaqueline Almeida is the slight favorite with 4 out of 7. And he's also the slight favorite in picks by the best favorite predictors, also with 4 out of 7. And the underdog, Alexander Volkov, is picked by the best underdog predictors 4 out of 8, so 50%. So in odds, this fight is not so close, but in picks, it's pretty close overall, and especially with the best predictors. But over the next few days, more predictions are coming in, also including predictions from the best predictors and the best favorite and underdog predictors. And things might look different in a couple of days. And if you want to stay up to date with the latest picks and predictions for all fights on this card, and also supporting the channel, consider becoming a member on Patreon to get daily updates for every fight on this card. This way you can easily compare how the odds and picks are shifting day by day. From all prediction channels on YouTube overall, the best predictors, the best favorite and underdog predictors, but also for all method of victory predictions and the best method of victory predictors. Speaking of method of victory predictions, for a KO TKO win we have 14 channels going with Alexander Volkov and 2 for Jaqueline Almeida. But most of the prediction channels are going with a submission win for Jaqueline Almeida, which is picked by 23 out of 51 channels for 45%. And for a decision win, we have 4 channels picking Alexander Volkov and 8 for Jaqueline Almeida. And the best method of victory predictors, most of them, 4 out of 6, predict a submission win for Jaqueline Almeida. And according to the odds makers, this is also the most likely outcome for this fight with odds of plus 150. The next fight is in the bantamweight division between Umar Nurmagomedov and Mario Bautista. Umar Nurmagomedov has won 6 fights in the UFC and only lost against the current champion Merab Dvalishvili. And Mario Bautista is on an impressive 8-fight winning streak in the UFC. Although he has an impressive 8-5 winning streak, he is the biggest underdog on this card with plus 455 and Umar Nurmagomedov is the biggest favorite on this card with minus 630. And Umar Nurmagomedov is also a huge favorite in picks by the YouTube prediction channels. 82 out of 87 channels predict he will win for 94%. And he's even a bigger favorite in picks by the best predictors with 7 out of 7 for 100%. And also the best favorite and underdog predictors go with him 100% with 7 out of 7 and 8 out of 8. And for method of victory predictions, we have 1 channel predicting Umar Nurmagomedov to win by a KO TKO, 3 channels got him winning via submission, but most of the channels are predicting that he will win this fight via a decision, which is predicted by 49 channels out of 57 for 86%. And we have 4 channels predicting a decision win for Mario Bautista. And with 6 out of 7, most of the best MOV predictors also go with a decision win for Umar Nurmagomedov. For the co-main event of the evening, we have a fight between Virna Jandiroba and Mackenzie Dern for the vacated women's strawweight belt. Jandiroba is on a 5-fight winning streak and Mackenzie Dern has won 3 out of her last 5 fights. The favorite in average odds is Mackenzie Dern with minus 165 and with plus 135, Virna Jandiroba is the underdog. And in this matchup, the YouTube prediction channels disagree with the odds makers because they have Virna Jandiroba as the favorite and she's picked by 53 channels out of 89 for 60%. And also the best predictors go against the odds because they also have Virna Jandiroba as the favorite with 5 out of 8. And the best predictors on favorite fighters and odds go with the favorite Mackenzie Dern only 2 out of 7, so they don't have much faith in the favorite fighter in odds. And the underdog, Virna Jandiroba, is picked by the best underdog predictors 6 out of 9, so most of them expect this underdog to win. And then for the method of victory predictions, we have 3 channels predicting a KO TKO win for Virna Jandiroba and also 3 for Mackenzie Dern. And for a submission win, it's also 3 for Virna Jandiroba, but also 3 for Mackenzie Dern. But most of the channels are predicting that this fight will go to the scorecards. and 23 out of 48 channels for 48% are expecting that Virna Jandiroba will get their hand raised, and 13 for Mackenzie Dern. And most of the best method of victory predictors, 5 out of 7, predict a decision win for Virna Jandiroba. And when we look at the odds, we see that the odds makers disagree with the prediction channels. Because in odds, the most likely outcome is a decision win for Mackenzie Dern with plus 225, and after that a submission win with plus 240. But a decision win for Virna Jandiroba is the third most likely outcome according to the odds makers with odds of plus 270. But is the most picked method of victory with 23 out of 48 for 48% and 5 out of 7 by the best method of victory predictors for over 70%. And then, in the main event of the evening, we have a fight between Tom Aspinal and Cyril Gane for the heavyweight world title. And in average odds, Tom Aspinal is the big favorite with minus 395 and Cyril Gane the underdog with plus 300. In picks by the YouTube prediction channels, Tom Aspinal is a huge favorite and he's picked by 85 out of 88 channels for 97%. Also in picks by the best predictors, Tom Aspinal is the favorite and he's picked by them 100% for 7 out of 7. And also the best favorite predictors and the best underdog predictors, all of them pick Tom Aspinal to win with 7 out of 7 and 8 out of 8. So yeah, in odds and in picks it looks like Cyril Gane doesn't have much of a chance. Then, for the method of victory predictions, we have 22 channels out of 51 predicting a KO TKO win for Tom Aspinal for 43%. And 2 channels predict a KO TKO win for Cyril Gane. And the most predicted method of victory is a submission win for Tom Aspinal, which is picked by 24 out of 51 channels for 47%. And only a few channels predict that this fight will go to a decision, which is picked by 2 channels for Tom Aspinal and by 1 channel for Cyril Gane. So, most channels predict that Tom Aspinal wins via submission, but the best method of victory predictors disagree. And most of them, 5 out of 6, predict that he will win via KO TKO. And the KO TKO win is also the most likely outcome according to the odds makers, with odds of minus 122. And after that, a submission win for Tom Aspinal with plus 290, which is the most predicted method of victory by the YouTube prediction channels. For the best betting opportunities this week, I have the following 3 fighters. The first one is Ludovit Klein. He is the slight favorite with minus 145, but is picked by the best predictors 6 out of 8 and the best favorite predictors 5 out of 7. You could get better odds than the minus 145 moneyline odds if you have him winning via decision, which gives you odds of plus 195, which is also picked by 57% for all the channels. But it might be not such a good option because most of the best method of victory predictions actually go with Matheus via decision. So up to you what you decide to do. Overall, it still looks like a pretty good betting opportunity, but I just wait a bit longer until more predictions are coming in over the next few days before making my decision. And the next best betting opportunity is Nasrat Haqparast. In odds, this fight is basically even, but Nasrat Haqparast is a big favorite in picks by the best predictors with 6 out of 8 for 75%, but also by the best favorite and underdog predictors with 6 out of 7 for 86% and 5 out of 9 for a slight favorite with 57%. And if you want better odds than the moneyline odds of minus 110, if you have him winning via decision, gives you odds of plus 180, which is picked by 36 channels out of 50 for 72%, but is also picked by the best method of victory predictors 3 out of 7 for 43%. And the last best betting opportunity, and probably the best betting opportunity so far, is Virna Jandiroba, because in odds she is the underdog with plus 135, but is the favorite in picks by the best predictors with 5 out of 8, the best favorite predictors with 5 out of 7, and the best underdog predictors with 6 out of 9. So yeah, not so bad getting plus money on a fighter that is the favorite overall by the best predictors. But if you want to double the moneyline odds of plus 135, you can get plus 270 on a decision win, which is also the most predicted outcome by the UFC prediction channels with 23 out of 48, but more importantly, it is the outcome that is picked by 5 out of 7 of the best method of victory prediction channels. That was it for the overview video for UFC 321. I hope you enjoyed it and found it informative and helpful. And if you want to get daily updates with the latest picks and method of victory predictions from all the YouTube prediction channels and supporting the channel, consider becoming a member on my Patreon. Thank you all so much for watching, enjoy the fights and have a great weekend.